Hello everyone, Burb here. I've been done with Taurus Cup for a few days now. I stopped at registration day, which I think for me was the correct decision because there's been a lot of frustrations that have been unique to Taurus Cup that we haven't really dealt with in quite a while. Part of these were self-imposed. I will give it that. The one self-imposed thing that I did, I will go over a bunch of frustrations, is that I chose to do Operation BNW or the BNW Challenge, whatever you want to call it. This is the first derby where I know what I am doing, at least somewhat, as well as the first derby that I have all three of these characters. For once, I wanted to give them their derby, and I'm glad I did this challenge. Particularly building one of these characters really enlightened me about how hard it is to build characters that are perfect. And that is the problem and frustration with Taurus Cup, is that there's always something that you're missing because there's so much that works in Taurus Cup that can make your characters better. There's a lot of things. This is the first corner 4 map we've done in a while. This means that we have to build Marzensky parents. Marzensky parents are tough to build because all of your affinity comes from just the races that you're doing in Track Blazer. This is the first one in Track Blazer that we pretty much had to either borrow or buy because it's needed on everybody. You have to also consider that I'm taking this from a backliner perspective because I play backliners. Marzensky building backliner is ridiculous because you're not hitting SS and you're looking for skills that are not frontrunner skills, which means you're having to actually run a dedicated parent run that is having to survive races while running most likely frontrunner. It's very tough, and I think a lot of people who have tried building backliner Marzenskis can empathize with that. There's also surprisingly high stamina requirement. It was 900 plus like a Radiant Star gamble or 800 plus a gold recovery. But you really had to try not to use a stamina card as much as you could. It was perfectly fine to, but again, we're talking min-maxing here. Once you get your baseline Umas, all that's left is to try to get your Umas better and better and better. And one of the easy ways, but easiest ways to get that power up is to swap your stamina card into a power card. And by doing that, it means you're sort of 50-50 in your run whether or not you get enough stamina sparks, especially since you're building Marzensky parents that may or may not have stamina sparks as well. So all of this stuff comes together into a big thing of just there's so many things you need and you're going to miss them. And building one of these 3 BNW characters, I'll get to it when I get to her, really enlightened me in that fact and lowered the stress after I did end up building her. After all that, because I'm running backliners and end closes are the better of the 2 backline roles at the moment, CB Wit was released halfway through. So we were stuck with Ayabe power or just not building your end closer until halfway through the CM cycle. So we basically had an artificial limitation for an entire style that I was planning to run as well. I think those were the main frustrations with the CM. Let's get through how I ended up building my team as well as my team reveal. Operation BNW, I was attempting to go and build Ticket, Biwa Hayahide, as well as Narita Taishin. BNW, you may have seen them in the anime. They're pretty cool. I had to get a parent. I've never done Marzensky parents because I got Marzensky after the previous one that she was good in, and I didn't even pick it on her because on the first Taurus Cup because I didn't know. So I had to make parents for Marzensky on backliners. I knew that I wanted Umastan on a Marzensky parent, which was going to be difficult in and of itself. The things that I'm looking for on my characters are Umastan, Medium S, and for whatever mid-race skill to get me into 5th place. That was what I was attempting to do. So I was building a deck basically with Ayabe power, with the power card Marvelous Sunday power for late surgers, as well as, trying to get some sort of medium sparks, or, I would accept turf sparks eventually, and Umastan. So I was having mediums in the back, and I was trying to get Umastan guaranteed on Marzensky. I knew that my threshold was going to be 2-star blue or better, 1-star turf or medium, literally anything. Like, I didn't care. As long as it wasn't front runner. That's really the only thing I wasn't going to take. And then finally, Umastan. If I could get these 3 things on a Marzensky, I think I was good to start building aces. The thing is that I would run Marzensky over and over and over again, and that would never happen. It would take me 36 Maru parent runs to get 2 workable Marzensky parents. One being one that has Umastan, a Wit Spark, and Turf Sparks with mediums in the back, and the other one being a Speed Spark with medium, which looks really, really, really good on paper. However, she just would not win races, and it has 26 wins. So I basically have a choice between running a Turf Spark or running a low affinity Marzensky. I think I would end up running the low affinity Marzensky on my characters because I would use an affinity engine on the other side to get my affinity up with whatever character I was building. So step 1 complete, although this was during my cruise, if you didn't know. On my vacation, I was basically just walking around in circles on the cruise ship doing Marzensky parent runs over and over and over again until I hit these. Yeah. That was burnout. But once we got back to it, I came home, we did the stream, and we did end up making a pretty good ticket here. Now, this ticket is perfectly fine. It has Umastan, it has Medium S, it has our stat requirements, and it is Radiant Star gambling. 986 stamina is plenty to live on its own. If Radiant Star procs late after we get debuffed, we do end up recalculating anyways. Its spurt rate is 100%. We do not have to worry about it. So this ticket I knew was good enough to be passable, and it would end up being the ticket that we would run anyways because it has everything you need. It has all 4 golds that you are looking for, Umastan, and a bunch of mid-race. Remember, these are double circles, not single circles, so they are basically 0.25s instead of 0.15s. So now we had the other 2 characters on BNW, and we would go through this, and we would get burned out again. I'm doing this to myself, I understand that. But these 2 characters, for some reason, would just not get their stats. I've been playing tickets and characters with power bonus, and these 2 do not have power bonus, and Biwa doesn't have power or speed bonus, so I couldn't even figure out how to get anywhere close to the level of stamina, speed, a decent amount of power, and wit. And that would require me to go and just try different decks and different builds until I would figure stuff out, and eventually I had to take a break from the game. Okay, so instead, when I came back, I was like, hey, I did make this whole anti-frustration plan thing, and the first thing you're supposed to do is make passable UMAs, so you're not stressed that, hey, if these don't work out, I am absolutely dead in the CM. So let's make passable UMAs, and how I wanted to do that is let's look at the BNW no Chikai anime. If you're surprised there's a BNW anime, it's probably because you haven't watched it because you can't find it anywhere. So I'll just go over the plot real quick. This is also the anime where a lot of the memes that you know of actually come from, as well as it's well known for having some of the worst animation that Uma Musume has ever done. I believe it's the first Smart Falcon sighting, and it's really funny that I could only find the Spanish version when I was making this video, and Inari 1's let's just say she's Inari Uno in Spain and Mexico. So the plot of BNW, I guess minor spoilers, honestly, it's a fun watch even if you know the general plot line, is that they're trying to do the BNW Classic where they do a relay race after the Derby to try to get Ticket, Biwa, and Taishin to get back into, the rotation of like actually wanting to go and keep running races. Now, Ticket, after a minor depressive episode, will agree immediately, of course, and the problem is that the other 2 are less agreeable. Now, Taishin goes all tsundere, and goes and has a bunch of introspection, a bunch of stuff about low self-confidence, about how she continue running, etc., etc. This is reference to the fact that she ended up with a small fracture and an injury, of course. And so what did they need to do? Just in case Taishin didn't show up, because she wasn't showing up, she had not agreed to it, they needed a body double. So who did they grab for the body double? Well, of course, that is Agnes Digital. So I made a Digiton end closer with Daring Strike, Radiant Star. This is completely overstamped, as I would not be knowing exactly what I was doing, but we did not need full swinging Maestro in this one. This was a Super Creek 3 speed deck that just has low wit. That's tough, but hey, that's what we do. And we got a Digiton that I would say is passable because OMG Final Sprint is just that good. The other part about this anime is that later on, when Taishin decides that she will show up, Biwa gets very, very sick, and honestly, they act like she's about to die. She's fine, but she is unable to participate in the relay race. So, at the final hour, when everyone is going and the final leg is going to happen where it's going to be BNW, they need a substitute for Biwa, Hayahide, and who comes out through the curtain to save the day? The close relative of Biwa, Hayahide, Hishi Amazon. So I made a Hishi Amazon. That was also an end closer. That was also overstamped. But still perfectly fine, and she was winning room matches, and so I had 2 passable Umas. Now, was that the actual plot of BNW no Shukai? The only way for you to find out is to actually go and watch the anime itself, okay? It's a really fun anime. A lot of your Oshis probably are in it because they kind of cycle around a lot of the side characters that were released in the game at that point, so you'd be surprised at who you're actually going to see be featured in that anime. So I have the baseline team as I take a drink of water. And so the baseline team of, sorry, that's Taishin, of Digital, Hishi, Amazon, and Ticket was a go, and now we have to go and build Taishin and Biwa. And so I knew Biwa was going to be the tougher of the 2 to build because I didn't really want to build her Pace Chaser. I would if I had to, but we've been getting lucky late surgeon and it's been funny. And I know that End Closer Biwa has a specifically good thing that can happen, which is that basically because her ult is a pass in the front half of the pack, if we hit Marzensky ultimate, we could late proc her ultimate and then her ultimate becomes insane. So I wanted to do a test run with End Closer, and I have an End Closer thing from Unity, where it's just like a throwaway 7 End Closer, doesn't really give you anything, but it's a 7 End Closer that will force her from D aptitude to A aptitude, and then I go and I just borrow a 6 medium, 6 Umastan on the other side, just to see, hey, how is a Biwa run going to look? It would be really, really tough because basically this means that I end at NB and mile C. So every single mile race, I am completely scared to run End Closer completely because I don't have good mid race with the NB and I don't have good late race because of the mile C. Now, this Biwa would end up getting on first inspiration an End Closer Spark, a medium spark, and an Umastan Spark, bringing this up to end A and medium S with Umastan. And so I had to lock in. This Biwa would end up getting a 1200, 1102, and 1002. The adjustment that I made was basically, hey, let's go down to solo wit. And with Biwa's 20% wit growth, that would be enough to hit 1000 wit. 36 races later, we got Umastan, we got Daring Strike, we did not get Professor of Curvature, and we did get Firm Course Menace. And there's 2 things that are a problem with this Biwa. One is the Professor of Curvature is missing, and in fact, almost all of the corner skills are missing. This is a straight Uma. Like, she has a bunch of straight skills. I think there's one possible, Daring Strike is the only corner skill besides Radiant Star if it procs early. So really, we're just banking on the fact that our wit carries us, which has been working in room matches. And the thing is, this Biwa is good enough. I did not expect just to run one Biwa match on my tester deck, but like when you look at what this Biwa had, there's a 21% chance with that setup. Now I can make the setup a little bit better, but not too much because I'd have to rebuild End Closer parents. 21% for the medium spark with the affinity I was at, a 17% for the End Closer spark per run, not per inspiration, per run, for the End Closer sparks to happen at 6. And then the Umastan sparks, because it was only on the right side, it was only about a 36% chance for Umastan. If I multiply all 3 of those together, I literally hit a 1.28% chance run just from the inspiration, which is a 78 runs expected value. I'd have to run 78 runs to hit this with this current setup. Now, if I make the setup better, I could lower that to like 40 runs, but that's 40 runs that I have to do. And I hit Daring Strike and Firm Course Menace, which is 2 of the 3 skills that I was really, really looking for. And I think these 2 skills are very good. Now, could I get more corner skills? That would be really nice. But what's happening is really, really interesting with this character. We also don't have Maru Redshift, which is crazy, I know. But we're lacking in the mid-race department. If we pace up, we're fine. But it's weird because we're kind of going for 6th place and 5th place instead of 4th place, 3rd place, 2nd place, 1st place. If we get 4th place, 3rd place, 2nd place, 3rd place, we may not hit exactly, but we still have Radiant Star gambling. We could also cascade into it, and it's been working as well. But we're also just an end closer in 3rd place at that point. And it's been working because in 6th place, if we do hit, that means Biwa Ultimate is delayed enough that we get Biwa Ultimate. If we're further forward and we Rad Star gamble and Biwa Ultimate procs immediately, it doesn't matter because we have 7 late race skills, basically. Like, we have 7 straights. And either they're going to be at the start, PDM breaking us, which is very good, which helps our mid-race incredibly, or they're going to be at the end and basically just make a ridiculously fast Uma at the end of the race. That's what I said. Taishin was being a pain in the butt. I did like 10 Taishin runs and couldn't hit anything. The biggest thing about her, she basically has no ultimate. But we did end up getting 3 Taishins that were good. Now, one of them was missing speed and medium A as well. This was the first passable one that I would be fine about running. And then we have 2 other ones. One of them would have no umastan. However, it would have a lot of late race and a lot of good corners at plus all 4 golds. All right. The other one was lower wit. So we have 873. It has lower wit, it has medium S, and it has so many greens. It has left-handed spring runner, firm course menace, and lone wolf. When this character actually hits her excel, it's incredible, because she just is very fast. Now, it's not as fast as you think because both of these, the guts is only 520, which has been a problem with all 3 Umas. But I think the answer, when we're comparing these, is to look at the skills we're missing. We got a couple of extra greens and Umastan versus a couple of late race skills. Tripulse and mid-straights kind of cancel out their end closer corners. All I've got plus half of a green for the 0.25. And then it's basically 100 wit versus left-handed spring runner. I'm not even counting IPP because it's honestly just kind of there. So we have a nimble navigator gamble in addition to tail held high in the mid-race versus 60 speed and umastan and 100 wit. I think the answer is to go with the one with umastan, and I think it's slightly better. There is more testing I'll probably do before it, but I think this is the one I'm going with. It was a 39 racer instead of a 36 racer, even though we only won 35. This was the deck, this was the sparks, etc., etc. And I think she's winning enough. These characters, like I said, the point of this was to let them run their derby. They've been winning. You know, it's just been pretty even with all 3 of these, and I think it's perfectly fine. And besides, wit is fake. So we don't care about the wit. Operation BNW is a success. Now, the thing is that these characters going to beat a perfectly built Christmas Augury plus Double Dominator. Probably not unless we really, really high roll. But we have Rad Star on all 3 of these, so anything can happen. We have multiple ways of getting 0.4, and we have very high speed with Firm Course Menace on all 3 of these, with Daring Strike on all the end closers, with Umastan on all 3 characters. We have what I would call bare minimum plus. We have pretty much everything you want. However, these are not perfect, and this was the problem I was having, except when I did that Biwa. When I finished Biwa and I realized that, hey, this Biwa is missing Pro Curve. But if I were to go and run 73 more runs just to get Professor of Curvature to get marginally better results on Biwa, I would not be able to build my Taishin as good. I would not be able to build my Ticket as good. And in fact, if I build my Biwa too good and I build my Taishin too good, then Ticket was probably the one that is left there because she is the late surger in that case. There's a reason to go and build your Umas in every Champions meeting, and that is to win. There's also a reason that you want to keep playing this game. And if your marginally better Uma is going to take you 50, 100 runs, and that is not the type of player that you want to be, where you're spending 50 hours over the next 2 weeks building characters, take that into consideration before you go and you try to high roll past what you are. And that is why I suggest in my anti-frustration plan that you build your passable Umas first, so that you always have a baseline and so that you know where you're going forward. If you If you know that going forward is easy enough, such as just swapping your build around, you may go for it. If it requires going and getting a bunch of sparks from different places, you may be better off building parents for the next CM or for the future, so that later on those sparks come easier, and that 76 or 77 runs required to get a better character with a slightly marginally better results turns down into 20 runs or 30 runs because you just have better sparks for the skills that you want. Everything is a trade-off. That is all I want to say. So, speaking of practice, because I wanted more practice, I do like to do a fun practice match with all the builds that I've done. I have it preloaded right now, so I know that in Gate 1 we have the Hishi Amazon, in Gate 2 we have the Medium A Taishin, in Gate 3 we have the low roll ticket that I did before that I didn't really mention. We have a frontrunner in 4th because solo frontrunner lobbies are funny. We have the no Umastan fast Taishin in 5, we have Digiton in 6, and then we have our CM just happen to roll outer post. So our CM ready ones are 7, 8, and 9. So let me go and get some audio and let it play, okay? Like to mention that the frontrunner late started, which is hilarious. Oh, lovely. I have to think now because both Taishins I didn't choose are the ones that won. But the one that won, come on. Yep, was the other one that I was considering. This one probably won because it got a nimble navigator. Let's see. I have to possibly reconsider that, hey, what's the effect of Umastan? Is it worth more than the 100 wet? We saw everyone, there was no pace up or anything. The two people who ended up pacing up were Ticket as well as, what's it called? Ticket paced up and Hishi Amazon both paced up. Biwa was sitting right in that 6th position, but just didn't have enough speed. Taishin, I don't know exactly what was going on and why she never ended up getting anything in the mid-race. Now, this does not have that much mid-race now that I'm looking at it more, but Daring Strike should usually be enough to get there. So perhaps I swap out the Taishins as I'm going along. Now, this is n=1, I'll do more, right? But both Taishins, even the medium A Taishin here, were better than it. Maybe it's just the fact that there's more mid-race, but from there, hey, that has been the team reveal. Here's the builds for the 3 that I was running here. So, yep, there's the builds. I put the sparks on each one of these. Biwa Hayahide, I'm pretty sure I was running a stamina build. Nope, I was running speed power wit on all 3 of these. So, here you are. Hope you enjoyed. I'll probably stream 1 or 2 days of it. I don't know if I'll do tonight, but take care, everyone. We're about.